Hi, Francesca, and welcome to Entrepreneurcast. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Francesca, before we get going with the business side of things, tell us a little bit about who are you outside of your business and what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Okay, well, my name's obviously Francesca. I am massively passionate about nutrition because that's what I do for a living. It's why I chose to do it. So in my spare time, that is also who I am to an extent, obviously. In my spare time, I love spending time. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. I do love spending time with my loved ones, with family, with friends. My biggest passion is weightlifting at the gym. So I love doing that. I've actually joined a female weightlifting class, which I do once a week. 3 times a week if I can, and I just love the feeling I get from performing things correctly and being told that just lifting heavier every week. And I also love yoga, so I have a local yoga studio that I'm very close to, so I go there as much as I can through the week, and I find that the two things just complement each other so well. So those are passions. I actually enjoy them. I'm not just kind of doing the workout for workout's sake. It is definitely a hobby, I would say. And I love being outside. I've got a local common. I live in the city, so it's obviously quite built up, but I have a lovely common nearby, and once you get into it, it's like a woodland, and I just love being in there, pretending I'm far, far away in the countryside. And that's another passion. I make sure I get there a few times a week. So I love being outdoors, love being active, and I just love being with friends and kind of having a laugh and just relaxing. I don't do that much of it at the moment, but I would like to. It is what I like to do, and I have to make sure I build more of it into my life.
Amazing. Well, you deal with nutrition and go into the gym and lifting weights and do yoga. It kind of complements each other.
Yes, yeah, it does, definitely. And it helps because when I tell my clients certain advice, at least I'm doing it myself as well.
Definitely. So, Francesca, tell us about your business. What is it that you do? And what inspired you to start it?
Okay, where do I start? So I am a nutritional therapist, which means because you have, I don't know if everyone's familiar, but you have nutritionists and dietitians, for example. So nutritional therapy is, it's not all the same thing. So I studied, basically, let's go back to why I became a nutritional therapist. So today I'm 37, yes, nearly 38 at the end of the year, but that's ages away. So I'm 37. In my early 20s, I gained a lot of weight. I went to uni at aged 18, and by the time I left uni at 21, 22, I was really big. I'd put on about 3 or 4 stone, and I felt, more importantly than the weight gain, I felt awful. So from sort of 21 until around 28, I always felt awful. My energy was on the floor, especially earlier on in my 20s. Energy levels on the floor, horrible digestive issues. I had depression. I remember thinking that I was clinically depressed when I was about 21, which is not normal. I had skin outbreaks. I had psoriasis patches coming up all over my body, just unexplained, debilitating headaches, terrible hormonal havoc, just PMS, like absolutely horrific. So that was the worst part of it. And obviously then I looked in the mirror and hated what I saw. So that was double whammy. It was just awful. And I spent years and years doing diets, doing all the different mainstream diet clubs and following all the mainstream advice, and every single diet book that came out, the most popular one, I'd grab, read it from cover to cover and try and say, right, from tomorrow this is what I'm doing, and then next month from tomorrow this is what I'm doing. So my weight yo-yoed because I would lose lots of weight and get even too skinny than I even wanted to be, but then sure enough a couple of months later I would regain it. So that kind of went on, but nothing changed in my symptoms. They were always the same. So it wasn't until I just woke up one day, I think I must have been about 25, 26, and I thought, there's something wrong here, because I'm just focusing on the fact that I want to lose weight, but actually I feel awful every single day. These diets clearly don't change that. So when I was it took me a long time, but I started reading books about nutrition. I don't really know how I found them. I think I just came about one, and one book led to another, to another, to another. And then when I was 27, I went to see a nutritional therapist. Again, I don't even know how I found this person, but it just came up from reading all these books. And I had 2 sessions with this woman initially, and that just kickstarted this massive transformation. I think coupled with the books I was reading, it was helpful as well. And then I just seeing her for another year, and basically a year later, to cut a long story short, my life had completely changed. My body had changed, my health, everything had completely changed. No more symptoms, gone. Some of my things like my digestive health needed a few more effort, a few more investigations. So we did that and just changed everything. So that inspired me to study to become a nutritional therapist, because at the time I was working in the corporate environment in finance, and I was bored, and I knew that wasn't going to be, I was making lots of money, and I'd started that job at 22, so I was really lucky to walk into a job with a good salary from so young. So I had been traveling for a year. I was going on girl holidays like twice a year with my friends. I had a car, but I just thought, hang on a minute, am I going to retire from an office job? And it suddenly hit me, and I thought, I can't. Plus, I have this massive passion now for nutritional therapy because of what it's done for me. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just go and study it and see what happens. So I stayed in my corporate job because it's like weekends. It's built around people who are in full-time employment. But it took me 5 years in all to study, because I had to go back and do my science qualifications and then get onto the course. And that took 4 years. So by the time I qualified, 2013, I was then 33. Stayed in my corporate job another couple of years, and then took the leap a couple of years ago to actually do this full time. So I qualified as a nutritional therapist. I started seeing clients one-to-one from health clinics. I was dealing with all different cases and all different people, different age groups, everything. And then it was about a year ago that I sat down and decided that what I really, really am passionate about, and who I'm really passionate about helping, is females who are in the same boat as I was and think there's no way out, and they just think that these diets is all that they need to do, and this mainstream advice, and they don't know any different, and they're not feeling any better, they're not getting anywhere with their weight. That those are the ladies that I want to help. So then I kind of changed my business model and put together a kind of group, a program that I do for these kinds of women. So that is where I am today and why. So I hope that answers the question.
Amazing. You had quite a journey there.
Yeah, it was a big journey.
Love it.
Kind of, 9 years of going literally from one kind of extreme, I would say, to the other, but all good.
So, Francesca, between, helping your clients and being the nutritional therapist and going and lifting weights and spending time with your family, what would you say your typical day looks like?
Gosh, every day, some days, it can be really different. There's never a normal structure, I would say. So I'll try and think the last few weeks how it's been. Because obviously I work for myself, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will resonate, you don't really switch off because it's your own business. So you're not just 9 to 5 and then after 5 o'clock you don't think about it. Same at the weekends. I mean, I could be out in a bar on a Saturday night and I'm thinking of ideas or things to do. But yeah, going back to a typical day, I usually wake up around, that differs, but it's usually anytime between 6 and 8 that I actually get up. So some mornings it would be 6, the latest would be 8, and that would just be if I'm absolutely exhausted and I'm like, I'm not getting up till 8. And I usually go either to my local common that I told you about earlier that looks like a woodland, and I'll have a nice little jog or a walk or something, and come straight back, have a shower and just have my breakfast and get started and sit on my desk at home. And then I will always make I'll carve some time out in that day to get out of the house again, whether it be to go out to a yoga class at lunchtime or later on in the day, or at night I might go off and do my weightlifting class. So I try not to chain myself to my desk, which is what I did for my first year. And I'll be on calls for most of the day, because 90% of my work is at home. So I'll be on phone calls for most of the day, coaching calls with clients, or I'll be putting together some sort of marketing. I'll be doing like a blog post, or managing my social media accounts, managing my email accounts, which can take hours. So there's plenty of admin that goes around with it. And then, so mainly on the phone. And then sometimes if I've got a day where I'm not really on the phone and I look at my diary, there's not really many phone calls, then I purposely stay at home for a little bit of the day, but then maybe I'll spend the afternoon in my local coffee shop just using the Wi-Fi, because otherwise I do go a bit mad just staying at home day every day. As much as I absolutely love it, if I just don't have any calls one afternoon, I just say, right, get out, just go and sit in Starbucks or somewhere else. And then at least I have, I get a smile from someone, or I have a little chat with somebody while I'm having a little break. So that's what I do. And then maybe once every couple of weeks I have to go into London. I mean, I live in London, but I have to actually go out and maybe have a face-to-face meeting or something. So that's probably a typical day.
Francesca, throughout our entrepreneurial journey, we come across a lot of challenges.
Yes.
What would you say was your greatest challenge, and how did you manage to overcome it?
I would say actually my greatest challenge would be time management. It's not so bad now, but in the beginning it was an absolute nightmare. When I first left my corporate job and began working for myself, I thought, this is going to be easy. I'll wake up next Monday morning and just do what I normally do, but do it at home. But it just doesn't work like that when you're working for yourself. It absolutely doesn't work like that. This is your baby. This is your business. You can't just say, well, I finished work now, so I'm not even going to worry about it. So for me, it was being switched on 24/7, and it did make me ill. So the first year, after 6 to 9 months of me doing that, I did have a bit of a kind of stress breakdown. I had major anxiety. I had major insomnia for a couple of months. And then I just said to myself, look, you have just done it all wrong, basically, for the last 9 months. So that's when I started to get advice from people and started to speak to business coaches. And instead of burying my head in the sand with just learning more and more about nutrition and improving my career, I decided, no, now I actually need to look at how I need to structure my days and how I need to do this, because I'm like literally 24/7 thinking and worrying about my business. So that, I'd say, would be the biggest challenge, was time management. It's still a bit of an issue, and I think it probably always will be to an extent when you work for yourself, but it's so much better. So this time a year ago, I would not have told you that I get up in the morning and I go for a little jog in my local park, or that I take time out to go to yoga. That is not what I would have been doing a year ago, because I thought I couldn't do it. I felt so guilty. So I've only just started to put those things in place at the end of last year, and it's a game changer. Without those things, I don't think I'd still be here today. I probably would have gone back to a corporate job because I just couldn't cope. So I would say how I overcame those challenges is self-care and putting it first. So making those things a non-negotiable, even if I have to force myself out of the house. If I've booked a yoga class for sort of 12:30 one day, 12 o'clock comes and I have to leave to walk there. Sometimes I have to force myself out, or I'm that close to cancelling the class because I think, how can I leave? I've got this email to do. And then I'll say, well, it will be there when I get back. And I'm way more productive when I get back, and then I can work. And some nights I do work up until sort of 8-9 o'clock at night, which isn't ideal. But if I'm feeling super productive, I'll just keep going. And then maybe the next morning, like I said, I might have times where I'll stay in bed an extra sort of half an hour because I did get loads done last night. So it's a balancing act. And you also need to learn when to hone in on those, like when to strike. So when you're feeling really positive and really productive, go for it. Work a little bit later. And then on days where you don't feel that way, stop earlier, because you're just pushing yourself into this hole of negativity, and you're probably not going to be very positive, very productive.
Definitely.
So probably time management.
Yeah, I'm sure time management is an issue for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, and I think it's always in between. For some people, is they can't stop working, and others, they just spread themselves between everything. They don't know what to do, and
I had that problem as well.
Yeah, and they would concentrate on the tasks that do not bring the money.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the same way as we have challenges, we also have the successes.
Yes.
What would you say was your biggest success so far?
In my business, obviously.
Yes.
So I would say my biggest success is the group program that I run, which is an online group program model. And I put that together towards the end of last year, and I started running it from February this year. And I'm so proud of it. And it is my dream. That was always my dream. And I don't think I realized it, but I figured it out this time last year. I started to figure it out. A business coach basically said to me, how does your business model look in your dreams? And that is exactly how it looks. And I kind of just came out with it without realizing that's what I want. So I've done that, and it's there. It's obviously new. It's just started in February, so it's still, you know, I'm just going to keep evolving it, I'm sure. So I think that's my biggest success, actually doing it and getting it up and running.
Amazing. Francesca, as entrepreneurs, we come up with a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you say you come up with your best ideas?
Oh, anywhere. It can literally be, sometimes actually, when I'm just lying in bed half asleep, things seem to come to me, and I just want to, I'm quite strict about putting my phone off at night. It's on flight mode from about 10 o'clock or 9. But sometimes I just want to grab it and start, I mean, you can still obviously write notes, but I don't want to look at the screen, but I just want to grab it and start writing all this stuff. Or sometimes I find that I might just wake up in the middle of the night, and rather than be stressing about something, I've just got this amazing idea. Mm. And then in the morning I wake up and go, oh my God, yeah, remember that idea I had in the middle of the night? And then I just write it down. Mm. So that's one of the places. And then sometimes I think that's probably the most common, is in the middle of the night. And then they just seem to come to me randomly. But I find just when I'm sitting there trying to think of something, trying to think of a new idea, I have to just stop, because it's never going to come. And I've learned that now. So that took me a while to figure out. And now I'm just like, I know now it will just come to you. You know, the right idea will come. And sometimes I shouldn't say it because I'm supposed to be present in my yoga classes, but sometimes in my yoga classes, these ideas just pop into my head. And again, I just want to run out of the class and write it down and then run back in.
Well, that's part of the meditation process, isn't it? You switch up during yoga, so
things come to you.
Yeah.
Clarity. Yeah. So there is something definitely in meditation where people say that clarity does come, and it's very true.
Francesca, I'm sure for this 9 years while you've been on your journey, you've been an inspiration to quite a lot of people. But you yourself, who inspires you? Do you have any so-called personal heroes?
Oh gosh, I do. And I can't think. I mean, I have a few names within the nutrition kind of health field, which I don't know whether people would know. So there are a few, there's a lot of American kind of functional medicine practitioners that are also part nutritional therapists. And I look up to them a lot, and I'll listen to their podcasts and kind of follow what they're doing. So there's a few of those. But in terms of anybody mainstream, I don't know, that's a tough one. I'd have to think about it. It's mainly within my profession that I look, but then there's also, I don't know, I'd have to think about that. I can list some names of people, but I don't know if people would know them.
No worries. Francesca, you've been in a business for some time now, you know, went from part-time to full-time. Obviously you've succeeded already, and you gained some experience and knowledge. So out of your experience and knowledge, would you share with us your top 3 tips and strategies to drive your business and life forward for any entrepreneur listening today?
I think the first one, and this isn't obviously business related, but this is from my experience, and I think it's just as important, is the self-care practice. So I mentioned it earlier, but in my first year, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. And I went from, in my full-time corporate job, for example, I used to go to the gym every day in my lunch break. I went to yoga classes in the evening, sometimes after work. And I just obviously had a healthy balance of work and life. And then as soon as I became full-time working for myself, I scrapped all of that. I actually cancelled my gym membership. I just didn't bother doing any of that stuff, because I said, well, I don't have time anymore. You know, I have to just focus on my business. However long it takes, I've got to put that first. And it was all or nothing. And in that time like I said, I became ill. I became very, very anxious. I got insomnia. And it didn't work. My business did not start to thrive in that year at all. I did a lot of learning and a lot of growth, because I was figuring things out and trying to figure out what I didn't like. So it has led me to where I am today. But on health wise, and also productivity, and as we were talking about just now, the ideas, the clarity, that comes from looking after yourself and, you know, looking after your health really, and putting that first. And then as a result of looking after yourself and being in a good place, you have these amazing ideas, you have more clarity, you can offer more to your clients. you know, especially if you're someone like me who is seeing clients and speaking to clients, and I'm supposed to be motivating and inspiring them, I can't give them anything if I'm not in a good place. And I'm not going to put together a really good blog post or design a good web page if I'm not in a good space. So that is, I'd say, the first tip would be, do what makes you feel good, do what makes you happy, carve it into your week, carve it into your day even. And yeah, don't compromise on that, because your health is just as important, your well-being, your mindset. So that's the key word, I suppose, is mindset. And how do you have a healthy mindset? You only have that if you're enjoying, you're doing things that you enjoy and looking after yourself. What would I say? The second tip would be time management, massively. So not kind of forgetting loved ones, for example. You know, they're still important, and yes, your business is your baby now, and it's very important, and your time is precious, and every second counts, and totally get that. But don't kind of let relationships fall to the wayside because you're just too busy, which is something that's easily done. Sometimes I'll find that someone's talking to me and I'm just away, like I'm still typing, maybe while I'm using an example is my boyfriend who lives with me, and I might be typing something or reading something online, and he'll come in and start talking about his day, and I'm pretending to listen, but I'll carry on typing. And I've started to make a conscious effort to kind of completely come away from my computer, turn around and talk to him, give him that time, and then go back to it. Otherwise, the relationship will suffer, and it has been through that. And he's picked me up on that. And the same goes for other relationships. So I have missed calls all the time, and I don't get back to people because I just don't have the time, supposedly. But you need to make the time, because people need you, and you need them. Even though you think you haven't got time and you don't need to talk to them because you're so busy with your work, you do need to speak to people that you love and remember what it's like to have fun and have a laugh on the phone with friends. So that's probably something I would say again. And again, that will make you more productive because you're having these healthy relationships. What would I say for a third tip? So, did I say time management? No. So I was saying self-care. Second one would be making sure you're talking to friends and nurturing those relationships that are important. And then, time management in the way that you're giving yourself. So this isn't free time for you to be with other people, time where you're not staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're forfeiting sleep. You're not getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to do stuff, and you need to manage your time. If you are working those many hours a day, like, I think something's wrong. Yes, there's always so much to do when you work for yourself, and it does feel like it never stops, and I guess it doesn't. But really, you have to make sure everything that you're doing you have to ask yourself, is this task getting me towards X goal, whatever goal that is for that week, or whatever goal it is for that month or that year, or whatever it is. If this task isn't getting me there, should I be doing it? Am I just wasting my precious time doing this when actually I need to be doing this to get me there? So always checking in with yourself. Is what you're doing really important to get you to that end goal? And remind yourself of what that end goal is all the time. Have it up on the wall. I have a whiteboard and I throw it all up there all the time to remind myself. I just don't think people should be working sort of 60, 70 hours a week on their own business. Are you doing everything productively?
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also, throughout your journey, did you come across any kind of resources that you found really useful, or they made your life easier?
I would just say it's not so much a resort. Well, it's a resource, but it's using a business coach. Hiring a business coach for me isn't something I did straight away, but that was invaluable. And I still have access to her. I worked with her for a year. I still have access to her when I need help. And I think that was probably the biggest game changer for me, was having somebody to actually direct me in business, rather than I could have had a lot of people in the nutritional therapy world, for example, have nutritional therapists as mentors that help them with their client cases and things. And that's amazing. That's really, really important as well. But we tend to forget the business side of things, like guiding you to help you get to where you want to be, and helping you get clarity on where you want to be, rather than just thinking of the day to day all the time. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest resources. And then I would definitely say listening to different podcasts, lifestyle podcasts, podcasts about people that have their own businesses, podcasts like this, really, really important, because you get you start to realize you're not alone, because it's really easy. Like my first year, I said it was an absolute nightmare, to be honest, and I thought I was alone in it. I thought no one else goes through that, and I wasn't listening to any kind of podcast like this back then. But once I did start to listen to those kind of podcasts, I thought, I'm not on my own. Everyone's suffering the same thing, and it's so helpful. Such a relief. You can literally sleep at night listening to stuff like that. So I'd say lifestyle podcasts. Don't just bury your head in the sand in your own world and your own thing. Look outside and see how other people are doing things and get inspiration and advice. Ask for help when you need it, definitely.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us, Francesca. Francesca, I talked to a lot of people who say that at some point in life, they came across a book that changed their life. Did you have such a book? And if you did, what was it?
Yes. So I have a book. I have loads. I've got one called I think it's The Giant Leap or The Big Leap. I think it's The Big Leap. I can't remember exactly who it's by, but it's called The Big Leap, I'm sure, not The Giant Leap. And that changed my life, definitely. I read that about a year ago. And in that book, he talks about keeping within your zone of genius. So, finding what you're really good at and doing that and doing it really well and experimenting with different things, but cross them off if they're not within your zone of genius, and don't spend your energy on them. And loads of other amazing things he said. There's also a book which is probably more on the emotional side, which is still important to be a successful business owner, a book by Byron Katie, a lady called Byron Katie, called Loving What Is. I found that really helpful to just accept things and not have any not have all these expectations and pressures. And it was just a very helpful book. So I would just say anyone to read that. And then I have another book which I've just finished recently by a lady called Jen Sincero, and it's called You Are a Badass. That's what it's called, and it's amazing. I actually listened to it on audiobooks, and I would listen to it on repeat. That was a fabulous, fabulous book, and you just resonate with it the whole way through. You're like, yes, exactly. And it's amazing for life and business. So all three of those things are amazing for life and business, those books.
Thanks for that. Francesca, you came a long way. You changed yourself from inside out. You left your corporate job. You got your business. You did the thing that you really wanted to do. Changed everything around. But what is next for you? What's your next big goal, aim, dream? And if there was somebody listening today who could potentially help you get there, who would it be?
Oh, well, my next big goal, I should say, is, so the program, which I said I'm really proud of, I want that to continue. That is my business model, and that is just going to continue to evolve and get better and better. I think my next biggest goal is to get out of the country, to spend some time living and working abroad. On my own business, so that that laptop lifestyle. Obviously, like I said, 90% of my business now is online. I would say 99% actually. So I can do that. I guess I'm just not ready yet. Having that freedom to disappear when I want to, for however long, a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a year. And my partner's happy. We both want to do the same. We both want to do that. So I think that's my next biggest goal. I'm just not ready for it just yet. I think I probably need a little bit more time to build things up from this end. And in terms, what was the second question? If anyone was listening, who would it be to help me?
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I think really it's down to me. So just, I suppose, somebody who's done it, to help guide me there and reassure me along the way that remind me that it's possible because I think it's so easy, the way that a lot of us are brought up and the way that we live, to dream. Like, a lot of us do dream big, but we think it's just that, dreams. So we're saying, well, this is my big dream, is to go and do this, but it will never happen because it's just a dream. And then you've got other people who have these big dreams, but they see them as more than dreams. They know they're going to be reality. And I don't know, it's as if we're programmed to just settle for mediocre and, oh, that's not available to me. I know that person travels with their work, but I couldn't do that. So I get days where that's how I feel. So it would be that guidance and reassurance that of course you can, and you can do it and be just as successful. You know, like, I don't know why I've just got this thing in my head that I need to be in London to make this work, but it's online, so I don't. So yeah, probably someone who's been there and is doing it now.
Awesome. Well, let's hope somebody's going to reach out and say, hey, I've been there, done it.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Exactly.
It's great, and you can do it like this.
Yeah, exactly. Take the leap.
So, Francesca, we are coming to the end of the show.
Okay, it's gone so fast.
But before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else you would like to share with us or advise on today?
I don't think so. I mean, my main points, I think I've definitely drilled in on, is your time management and looking after yourself. And at the end of the day, all those things make you more productive. And if we're not productive, what is the point? It's really, really difficult to run your own business. You have to be creative. You have to think on your feet. You have to serve, because that's essentially what your business is made up of, is serving other people. That's what gets you paid. And if you don't look after yourself, you have nothing to offer. If you reach that burnout point, then what? So you always have to keep that in mind and, put that self-care first, put those time slots in your diary, make them unnegotiable, and don't feel, because one of my biggest issues was I felt really guilty. Just, I'm in the gym and I should be at home working. And I felt like I was, because I'm so used to working a 9 to 5, that's all I know. It's all my parents knew, it's all my friends know. This whole lifestyle is completely different to me, completely new. So, more alien. So I would feel as if I was bunking off, like just being lazy, lying in a yoga class at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I should be at work. But it's necessary, because I will serve better, and I definitely do offer a lot more from looking after myself. So I'd say just reiterating that, really.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Francesca, for anyone who would like to get in touch with you or follow you in any way, what is the best way to do that?
So you can find me on my Instagram, which is just at FL Nutrition UK. My website is FL Nutrition. So that's F for Francesca, L for Liparoti, nutrition.co.uk. You can email me, which is francesca@flnutrition.co.uk. I am also on Facebook. I have my own Facebook page, which is just Francesca Liparoti Nutrition. So I'm not hard to find. The only other Francesca Liparoti I have ever seen on Facebook is my cousin. So yeah, so that's how to get in touch with me.
Amazing. Well, Francesca, thank you so much for making time to come on the show. It's been amazing to have you, and I really look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope it's inspiring or helpful to someone out there.